am back for part 2 of this yoga teacher training FAQ little mini video series. I asked you guys to send in any questions. I was trying to collate all the FAQs and you guys sent some additional questions as well, which is awesome. But there were so many that I couldn't really fit them in one video because I figured that people probably don't have that much time to listen to me ramble about all of them. So I'm going to try and keep it quick, but this part 2, is all about what happens once you complete your teacher training. So generally speaking, your teacher training course is probably going to be a 200-hour foundation. You can do it in so many different styles, so many different teachers, so many different schools, and I think that is where so much of the confusion comes from. So I wanted to kind of chat through the options and thinking around the options, and I hope that it helps to clarify it a little bit. So the big question that a lot of people don't want to ask but probably should know about is money. So earning money as a yoga teacher can be really challenging, and most people that I know started off by having a second income at the same time. That doesn't mean that that has to be the case for everyone. All of our financial circumstances are different, and people need to earn different amounts of income. And of course, it can be easier for some people to get new classes than others based on where they live or various other things. So somebody asked me about whether or not I saved up to prepare for when I came home. I made a very quick decision to go and do my teacher training. I knew I wanted to do it, but I was going to do it further down the line. And then I made a decision to do it a lot sooner than expected. So I hadn't saved anything for when I got home. I was very fortunate in that because of the area that I'd been working in, I already had connections with studios and I already had trials set up for when I got back. I'd been a personal trainer for a very short amount of time beforehand, and I think the studios and the communities around me could see that I was definitely moving towards teaching. So I guess I had a bit of a foot in the door in some ways, which I'm incredibly grateful for, but it also meant that I felt a lot more pressure, or I felt a lot of pressure to then perform and to be this incredible teacher from day one. And of course, you've just come back from a training. There are a lot of mistakes to be made. So having a second income source is a way to relieve the pressure of being a new teacher. It is very common with newly qualified teachers to burn out very quickly because you get this like yes bug where somebody offers you a class, any class, and you kind of say yes before you think about it. And for me, the next thing I knew, I was running all over London all day, every day, because I'd said yes to everything. I wanted to take every single opportunity and I burnt out. So I was teaching about 20 hours a week right from the beginning, and I just was exhausted. I loved every single second of it, but I was exhausted and I injured myself. Because as a new teacher, you don't necessarily know how to preserve your energy. You don't necessarily know about where you can and can't push yourself. And there is so much learning to do around your teaching and your energy. So actually having a second income source, for those of you asking about keeping up with your job or having a part-time job at the same time, I believe that is a really useful thing to have because it takes the pressure off and it allows you to ease into teaching. It also means that you are able to shop around a little bit and work out the kind of teacher that you want to be before you take on 100 classes at the gym where you're not able to be spiritual and you decide that you really connect to the spiritual side of teaching, for example. So that being said, I think it's really important to take random opportunities. So while you can't be in a million places all at once, it is important to say yes, because in saying yes, that's where you're going to learn. So whether that is practicing with friends or setting up your own little classes in a local hall or church, or even at home, I think it's really important to get back and start teaching, because otherwise it's scary. It's really exciting, it can be really daunting, but the best advice is to just go for it. We are all human and there are so many mistakes to be made. I could say that so many times, but it's so true. And no matter how much experience you have, I am sure that there are classes that you leave and think, could have done that better. But you have to start somewhere. So yes, finding work as a teacher is hard, but set up those opportunities, make connections with people, speak to your family, your friends. Does somebody want you to come in and teach a free yoga class at their office? And at first, if you're in a position to do so, then offer up your time for free. But have boundaries. So if you say to a friend, I would like to come and teach you on a one-to-one basis, I'm going to offer you 4 free classes. If you enjoy them and you want to keep them up, then yes, we can talk about rates afterwards. But those first 4 are going to be my gift so that I can get experience. So it's a two-way beneficial relationship. Set the boundaries from the beginning, because otherwise you will find yourself in a position where it's really uncomfortable to figure out money, basically. Money is always a really challenging topic, especially when you know people, and especially when you're trying to put yourself out there as a new teacher. So have those conversations at the beginning, and it will make your life so much easier down the line. And don't let people say to you, well, you're a new teacher, so I'm helping you out, you're getting experience. Yes, that is true, but this is your service, you are qualified, so it is a lot harder to push those rates up later than to go in with something that you are comfortable with. So in terms of then getting classes in studios or finding private clients, word of mouth and talking to people is really, really valuable. But another thing that I think was really helpful to me is that when I came back, I picked up a couple of my own classes, but I also assisted some teachers that had a lot of experience. And I found that really, really helpful, because it helped me to develop my confidence with things like assisting and adjusting, and it also helped me to learn how to sort of set up a space and to build my confidence in terms of holding that space for other people. So that was a really valuable experience, and I would definitely recommend that. And you never know, if you start by assisting and you get to know a teacher and their style, they may ask for you to cover their classes when they go away. And again, be vocal, express your interest and talk to them, because it's got to be a two-way thing. So if you are helping a teacher by assisting in their classes, I would always expect that they would be willing to support you by giving you feedback or by introducing opportunities to you, perhaps, if they come along. But again, it's being open-minded, it's creating really honest and ongoing relationships and not treading on anybody to get anywhere. So see the value to yourself in going and assisting a more experienced teacher without expectation beyond learning. Do it to learn from them, do it to develop yourself as a teacher, and it may be that positive opportunities come along too. So yeah, the big 2 questions I think are how to get classes and how to finance, how to support yourself. And I think it's really, really important to be aware that it can be really challenging to get that balance. For me, teaching so many hours in a week just to try and pay the bills at the beginning in when I was working in studios who didn't pay particularly well, it put too much strain on me and on my body, and it really impacted what I was able to give as a teacher. I kind of feel like in some sense it's a rite of passage. Most new teachers will go through that burnout, and it is part of learning where we need to hold back and kind of fill up ourselves before giving to everyone and everything. Which also leads me onto the idea of boundaries. I think people, you will find that when you start teaching, and you'll probably learn this in your teacher training, but you will find that people come to you with really random problems or things that you don't know the answer to, and people will trust you, and it is really important to honor that trust and be very honest. If you don't know the answer to something, then it's okay. You are human. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to forget your sequence. It is okay for you to get your left and right mixed up. It is okay for all of these things to happen. And it is okay to not know the answers. Be honest with your students always. And on the topic of honesty, the last part of this video is about finding your authentic voice. It can be really challenging when you are a new teacher to know where to teach from. Teaching from your truth or teaching with authenticity is almost such a scary concept that you end up going the other way and overthinking it. For me, I found it came with time. I came back and I tried to fit into the studios that I was teaching in, and over time I realized that that didn't feel honest to me, and as soon as I started teaching more honestly, because I stopped thinking so much, I started to develop a much greater connection with my students. But again, it is okay for that to take time. We are all on this journey. I'm so early on. I've been teaching for just 18 months, and each day I learn something new about myself, about my students, about how little I know, how much I know, and that is kind of the beauty of the job. So take comfort in the knowledge that none of us are perfect. We are all human. And while we strive to perfection in our classes because we really want to share the practice, or we really want to create a beautiful experience for our students, we have so much to learn every single day. And the way that you teach when you step out of your teacher training is probably going to change a lot over the next couple of years, and that is okay. That is part of the process, and that is the beauty in the job, is that we continue to develop as ourselves and as teachers and with our students. I hope this video was helpful, but if you have any questions I haven't answered, then please leave them in the comments box below. You can subscribe to my channel by clicking here, and check out my website for a little bit more about this.